I'm excited.
I'm excited. Finally, we were able to make it happen.
Yeah.
We've been busy, but we finally got it going.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna start off with some early life questions. So, what was your earliest memory, and how do you think it shaped who you are today
Oof.
as a child?
All right. I think my earliest memory is I was snow tubing, sitting in my mom's lap in. She tells me it was in Austria, but I always assumed it was in Germany. So I was born in Germany as an army brat, and I feel like that has shaped a lot of who I am. It becomes more and more relevant these days of like being a person that was born elsewhere to parents who were also immigrants to the U.S. And now having to navigate life as a first generation American who has carried multiple identities, I think, at various points in my life. So yeah, like I think the most important thing there is that drives me is like remembering the sacrifices that my mom made and bringing me to this country and the freedoms that I get to have, but most importantly the opportunity that I have to make an impact here.
Okay. And which one of your parents do you think inspired you to be the businessman that you are as well?
Well, I grew up in a single parent household, so
okay.
my mother is the person that inspired me to of parents like that inspired me to be an entrepreneur. I think it's a very interesting background story because like I decided at like age 6 that I was going to own an airline, right? And so my whole life has been like, oh, I'm going to run something, right? Like why would I want to work somewhere when I can run something? And so for her to be able to nurture that and never tell me, hey, like it's probably not a good idea for you to pursue this. Like it was always just a given for me that I wanted to run something. So that entrepreneurial spirit was there from a very early age.
Okay. Did your mother have any businesses?
No, my mom was a teacher, an early childhood teacher for most of my childhood after her army service, and weren't really many people in my family that had their own businesses. I guess my uncle always had a different business. He had a garage that for cars that I worked at. That he worked at when I was younger, and I would go help him out at. He owned a taxi service in Brooklyn, so he was always dibbling and dabbling, and he had an accounting background of all things. Than his life before moving to the U.S., where I think he was an accountant in the U.S. for a little bit as well. But yeah, I think he was always the person that was like, hey, like carve your own path, essentially, and that was one of the many lessons he taught me.
Oh, okay. So you had an uncle that was the one who inspired you to kind of have that entrepreneurial spirit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Were there any key moments in your childhood that you see now as being pivotal?
Yeah. So I was fortunate, or I worked hard and got into Stuyvesant High School, and I think that really changed the trajectory of my life. Right, like you're put into a place where the people there don't look like you. No one's expecting you to be there, right? Like you could have just floated along and been to any high school in the city, but then you get to go to the one that's considered the best, and the opportunities that are open for you from just attending that high school and then ultimately graduating from it really changed the outlook on life. So it's weird that when I talk to kids now, it's like, hey, you're going to take a standardized test at the age of 13 or 12 or 13, and it may really alter the rest of your life, but that's exactly what happened to me.
Wow. That's a school in New York?
Yep, a school in Lower Manhattan, one of the specialized high schools here in New York City. We have a whole process to when we apply to high schools, like just like you apply to colleges, and just really being able to extract yourself from your what we call our zone school, right? Like your local neighborhood, that it tends to align with the income levels in your community district, and so you can kind of get yourself out of that situation, and go to a place where there's opportunity, there's something different, there's role models that are saying, hey, you could be anything in the world, and look at the examples of our alumni who are literally anything in the world. So I think it was a really big change in my life trajectory.
Okay. And I know you said that you were big into aviation.
I was.
Were you?
I still am.
You say you still are?
Yeah, I love airplanes. It's like it's a passion. Travel, airplanes, logistics of airlines are a huge passion for me.
Were you able to ever be able to become a part of any airlines to any extent?
So I attended Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida, and following that path, ultimately that's not where I ended up in life. But like the friends and classmates I have there at running a creative agency, I do get the opportunity. We've branded an airport. We've worked on projects for the Alaska Department of Transportation with runway safety. We have branded and worked on campaigns for Stratolaunch, which has the world's largest airplane, right? We pursue projects in aviation because it's something I am passionate about, and I want to be able to communicate the value of and the freedom that you get when you can literally travel the world in less than a day.
All right, cool. All right. Were there parts of your identity that you had to hide, embrace, fight growing up?
Yeah. So let's talk about it. I was told from a very young age that I was too white, right? Like, so
Too
white. Yeah. Like,
Wow.
when you speak like me, like I honestly, I feel like I learned to speak from watching Dan Rather on the evening news every night, right? Like, that's who I was trying to emulate. Like, I was trying to speak clearly because newscasters spoke clearly, right? And so I think once I hit middle school and I speak in a certain way, like I pride myself on having a vocabulary that's not just the same things over and over. Like, but you get told you're too white. So,
Yeah.
and then going into high school, it's, hey, like you're an Oreo and things like that. And so I have a lot of friends who have experienced the same things, and identity was always an issue for me there. Like, you're like, oh, do I have too many white friends? Do I have too many friends that are non-black in general? Who am I hanging out with? Like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be known as in this world? And so I think from an early age, I was battling with identity.
Gotcha.
Growing up into an adult, I think it was how much, especially when you run your own business, how much of the black person that you are do you want to put forth, right? Like, because sometimes, like I've had experiences where I'm going to meet with the CEO of a company, and the doorman is like, oh, I don't think you don't want to be here, right? Like, I don't want to let you up, and things like that. Also, my name is Carlos because my family's Panamanian, so navigating life as an Afro-Latino is a whole different intersection of identity, right? Like, am I Latino? Am I black? Am I like white? Like so
all of the above.
These cross sections that I have really have identity. I think has been the story of my life, and trying to figure out like who Carlos is, right? Like, so I think it's played like a huge part in life, and it's just it's something I still go through. I think I am comfortable in the person that I have become, but it does take work, and identity changes, right? Like, I was Black Hispanic until maybe 10 years ago, and then now I'm Afro Latino, right? Like, and so it's a very, very interesting time to be alive. But I think the more we talk about identity and how it shapes you, the better we'll all be. If we ignore it, that's when I think you have the problems that we have in this country and in this world.
No, I understand. And a lot of people they want to know, they're curious, but they don't want to know. So they'll try to probe around to get the answer out of you in some type of way. So
I think a good example of that is a very common question I get, I'm fine answering the question. I think it's just asked in a really poor way, but I'm asked, why is your name Carlos? Like,
why is your name Carlos?
Right? Like, why would you be named Carlos, you darky, right? Like that kind of thing. And it's not just from black people or from white people. It's from other Latinos who, and like, Latinos come in all shapes and sizes and colors and everything like that. And so it's kind of disappointing when it comes from Latinos. Is like, oh, your name can't possibly be Carlos. And I'm just like, but it is. Or they're like, your name is Charlie. And you're like, nope, no, it isn't. And so just like being questioned, I think, your entire life on who you are and who you want to be, and from something as simple as a name, is really a challenge, and sometimes it can be disheartening, but I think it's also empowering.
Yeah, and it's also people trying to push their agenda onto you
Mm-hmm.
based on their perception. So they're like, your name is Carlos, but you look black. So what are you? You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you to decide if you want to let them know.
Mm-hmm.
So, so to go back, I should have asked this question first, but your name is Carlos. You're the Prime Minister
Yeah.
of DBC.
Uh-huh.
Could you let the audience know what DBC stands for?
So DBC is an acronym for the Design and Branding Company. So it's the creative agency I started in 2014. My title is fun, being the Prime Minister, because we adopted a culture, I think a little bit post-pandemic, of the city-state of DBC. And so I'm a very big fan of history, and I like the concepts of city-states. I think being someone who is in New York and wishes that we could be a city-state at this point in 2025, of like, hey, we have autonomy to run our culture, our economy, our city the way that we see fit, because our values are a little bit different. And thankfully, I think our values are more inclusive than the rest of the country. But when I wanted to establish a culture of like, hey, we're a remote team, what binds us all together? And so the thing that I think binds us all together as creatives are the clients that we have. So we renamed our clients our citizens, and that those are who we're working for, because without them, we don't exist, right? And so everyone has a ministerial title, gives them empowerment over the area that they're into. So for example, we have a minister of communication, or corporate communication. That person knows that all corporate communication projects go through them. And our citizens, when they see that signature, they know, hey, if I have a corporate communications question, if I have a motion graphic question, here are the people that I know I can go directly to without having to go to Carlos and then go down the chain from there. So it just gave everyone empowerment and ownership over the work that they do. And our team does really, really amazing work. And so I'm very, very happy with how our culture is put together.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's something new. That's something that's not the norm of what we're used to in society. So I applaud you for that, for thinking outside the box. How long have you been in business?
So started DBC in 2014 officially. I was able to quit my full-time job at Bain & Company in 2015. So coming up on 10 years since that's happening, which is wild. And yeah, like we've had peaks and valleys. We've grown. We've started other brands. We've sold products. We've done a lot of different things. I think we started, when you think back on it, like really, like all of my friends were getting married, and I was starting doing wedding invitations for them. And so then wedding invitations turned into, let me like style your wedding, and I would do all the print materials for the wedding. And then it turned into wedding coordination. And I was like, yeah, I'm not cut out to hang out with brides for all the time, because they're not all bridezillas, but there are some, and it's not repeat business. So like for me, it was like, how do we get to a point where we can work with the same client for years and years at a time? People get married multiple times, but not right in a row. Right? Once you get married, you're kind of off and running. And so just really wanted to build a more sustainable business where it wasn't reliant on, can we go out and sell this week because we don't have any new clients, right? And so my entrepreneurial path has been absolutely a roller coaster. Like you think you're doing everything right, and then pandemic hits and you can't do anything right. Yeah. So like riding those ups and downs, sometimes the valleys are very, very deep, and sometimes the peaks are very, very high. And so I talk to people all the time, and I'm just happy to be able to say like, hey, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I've made. I don't want you to do the same things and get caught in the same traps that I've gotten caught in. And so however I can help people with their journeys as entrepreneurs, small business owners, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. And you brought up COVID. During that time, how were you able? You don't have to give all your secrets, but give me one thing that you did to be able to pivot during that time.
I mean, I think just being available every day, right? Like a lot of people just packed it in, and I said, hey, like let me go out and be online every day. Let me reach out, like doing the same kind of sales things that we can do. Thankfully, there was some government assistance along the way there, because we would not have survived without it. But like we were able to, like we were, I think, in the right position, because everyone was constantly like traveling before the pandemic and working on site with clients. And so we were really equipped to be remote. And our plans were to go remote before the pandemic, and the pandemic just kind of accelerated that. And so I think being prepared for anything is how you get in the right mode for these things that are quote unquote unexpected. But like being ready for opportunities, right? So like our banker sent me a text message saying, hey, we're going to release the second round of PPP loans tomorrow. make sure you have all your documents. We can get you submitted by 5 o'clock. Boom, submitted by 5 o'clock, funded 2 days later. Needed that money, right? Like, so just making sure that you are able to pivot, right? Like you can't pivot if you don't know where you're coming from, right? So like be organized, like with your documents, have your sales numbers, have all of these things that people are going to ask for. Make sure your payroll records are up to date, and so that anything that happens, you have opportunities to kind of dig out of it.
Okay, I applaud you for that, because I know that time was not easy.
Yeah,
I work for transit, and during that time we're dealing with essential workers practically, and then you have the people who are not essential still getting on our different transports.
Yeah,
it was a difficult time.
And you have colleagues passing away. You have colleagues getting sick and passing away, and so
that too.
Like I think I was privileged enough to be able to stay home, right? Like sometimes you're like, was that a privilege or was that hard to stay isolated? But it was a necessity, and anything I could have done during that time to make it easier on others, I wanted to make sure that I was doing, because there were a lot of people like yourself that had no choice but to be out there every day.
Yeah, we had to move the city. What's something from your past you didn't understand at the time, but now makes complete sense?
That's a very good question. I would say I didn't understand intersectionality in the past.
What's that? Could you elaborate?
So people aren't just one thing, and even if you are that one thing, you can't make assumptions about them because you don't know where people come from, right? Like, so, or what their experiences have been, and so understanding that someone may be just because they're Asian or East Asian doesn't mean that they've had this set life that you would have assumed that they've had, or the type of life like that they would have had because someone's parents were business owners doesn't mean that anything, right? Like their margins could have been very slim. So understanding who they are, like from their race and ethnicity to their sexual orientation to their economic status and their education levels, right? People, I think a good example is that like companies are dropping, thankfully, their college degree requirements, right? Like, being just because you went to college doesn't mean that you are the only people capable of doing this job, right? So if you can demonstrate that you can do a certain role without having a college degree, that shouldn't preclude you from getting that role. And so we dropped like around the time that Google did it, we dropped college degrees, right? Like a degree requirement, right? And so now I can go out and recruit from anywhere in the world, because we're a remote team, can recruit people who are creatives. I taught myself how to be a graphic designer and a communicator. I didn't study that in college, right? Like I studied aviation in college. So just being able to open your eyes a little bit more and cast a wider net, so that you have a diverse workforce that benefits your citizens, which are our clients again. So our diversity and our intersectionality benefits the ultimate people that we're working to communicate with. And so I don't think I understood that growing up. I think empathy is a great skill that I've tried to have, but like really trying to open my eyes to like, hey, what are the values that you bring to the table? Because of your past experiences are really, really great for me.
Oh, that's amazing, man. And I appreciate that you do that for people, because I was always someone who was always skilled at a lot of things, but was never a master of one thing. So if somebody needed somebody for a particular position, I can learn that position and be better than somebody who's been doing it for years, because I can pick things up fast. But not too many businesses are going to be willing to take that chance on somebody because they don't know, they don't see the work experience and things like that. So I appreciate that you learned that and now you're implementing it into your business. And I'm sure the people that you took the chance on, they appreciate it as well. You know,
I hope that I make a good work environment, right? Like I want people to value the time that they spend, whether it's 3 months or 3 years or 30 years, how long someone's going to work with me. I want them to make sure that they're coming out on the other side a better person, a better professional than they went in. Absolutely.
All right, I have a couple of questions now that's going to be like fun questions, so we could just like bounce off some things. So if your upbringing were turned into a sitcom, what would it be called, and who would play your parents?
Okay. So I grew up with my sister, my mother, and my grandmother in the same house, and so
Okay.
I would say it's probably Isle of Man. That is the only thing that comes to mind. And who would play my mom? I mean, she's much younger than my mom. I don't know if that's actually, but Erica Alexander, who played Maxine on Living Single,
Oh,
I
nice.
think has a lot in common with my mom, just the way that they act. My mom is still a very West Indian person, so like I'm wondering if there's a West Indian version of Erica Alexander, but like she is also a talented actress and probably could have played my mom very, very well.
She is.
My grandmother, I'm trying to think. I think, but my grandmother had a lot of wisdom, and I think back on like Cecily Tyson, or Eartha Kitt, right? Like those are the types of people that like when you see interviews about them with them. I think Eartha Kitt is a little bit less religious than my grandmother, but like Cecily Tyson would have been interesting to play my grandmother.
No, that's a great choice. I love Cicely, and funny you mention her because Cicely Tyson, she was actually from the country that my family's from, St. Kitts and Nevis.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good choice. All right, here's the next question. What's one piece of advice a family member gave to you that sounded wise but turned out to be completely useless or useful?
Okay. I think when I started my business, I was told horror stories from family members about like making sure that I was the only person that could touch my money or like the company's money, because you heard about like people embezzling, and like for years and never getting caught and everything like that. And so I've been hyper vigilant always about like who has access to the bank account, and it's a whole thing, who can bill clients, all that stuff. I think to some extent it is a little bit harmful because I don't delegate enough. Right, like there are plenty of security systems in place now where we get like any actions in our bank account, right, can be two-factor required, right? Like and it's all audited, right? Like so you can't really just kind of siphon money out. And I think that if I were able to if I were more comfortable delegating a bit more, we would be in better positions, and I could focus on things that I need to do, and we could have some machine learning or people who are trusted in the organization to handle some other things. I definitely think I handle too much in the organization, and part of that is because I'm like, all right, like at the end of the day, it's going to fall on me, but like I don't get the best people to do these things, right? I try to hire the best designers and the best creatives to do that stuff, but then all the admin stuff kind of falls on me, and so I think I need to be better at that. But I know where it stems from.
No, that's great. That's great that you paid attention to it, because what the information that your family gave you, it could be a little like over the top and overbearing onto your employees, but you found a way to balance it. So it's always good to find balance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In the next one, what's a lesson your younger self learned the hard way, but you probably should have seen coming?
Yeah. I mean, I got a car repossessed in college. Right?
Okay.
The lesson that I should have learned was you don't need a brand new car when you're 19 or 20. I think it was 20 when I got the car. You don't need a brand new car at 20 years old. That I should have I needed money for a down payment for that brand new car. I also should have I could have used that money and just bought a used car outright, right? Like, and I didn't have to worry about payments. And then the job that I was working wasn't about wouldn't have been about car payments. It would have been about other things and fun, right? So learning how to manage your debt, and the examples were there. Like my godmother is very, very good at managing your debt, was trying to preach to me with credit lessons and all this stuff. And I was like, I really want this car. And ultimately, like, it got repossessed. I got it back, but it was a wake up call. Like, hey, you chose one path where you're going to make car payments, which means that you can't go out and party every weekend and have nothing left in your bank account. And so it'll probably, the lesson I learned there is I'll probably never buy a new car again. The only vehicle, I mean, I live in New York, but the only vehicle I currently own is a 1975 Toyota FJ40. That I bought straight cash. Right, so there's no financing on that, but I'd probably never finance a car again, and I try not to finance too many things, and just kind of trying to break bad habits of financial mismanagement.
Oh man, that situation scarred you. You said, I'm never doing it again. All right, you spoke about financial literacy.
Yeah.
And you said, who did you learn it from?
my godmother is very financially literate. She prides herself on her 800 credit score. Something I hope to achieve one day, but I got to be better at doing it in order to get there. But yeah, like just really understanding like, hey, you don't need to spend money this weekend. You don't need to spend money today, or you don't need to order every meal. You can cook. It's so much cheaper if you cook at home. I know that sometimes I'm like, I'm so busy with work and I'm making money at work, but let me just order this thing. But that adds up, right? And so, can I meal prep? Can I find ways to not have to stunt on people with spending your money? I think the pandemic helped with that, and one of the ways is it really was able to bring out my passion for travel, right? Like in the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't travel, and then once I was able to get vaccinated and travel, I started traveling like crazy. But then I realized that I'd rather spend all my money on visiting new countries, getting new experiences, than spending $200 in a bar on a Saturday night in New York. I've had that experience already, right? Like I don't need to do that all the time. So while it's okay to go out once in a while, like I don't need to do that all the time, and I can save my money and try to travel more using points, getting access to credit cards that I never had access to before, so I can earn points and travel and do all that stuff. But then you gotta be conscious about using it. I'm an entrepreneur, so like my income isn't as steady as I would want it to be sometimes, and just making sure that you're not getting in over your head.
Okay, definitely good advice. Okay, and I'm gonna close it up with this final question. What's a place you've traveled to that felt like a true escape from the noise of everyday life?
True escape, the way that you phrased it, I love it there. It's Fiji. Close second, Croatia, but Fiji was completely different than any place I've ever been to. I did a trip around the world on points for my birthday a few years ago. And so I went from New York to LA, to Fiji, to Australia, to Singapore, to Germany, to back to New York. And Fiji was a landscape that is Jurassic Park, right? Like it's a movie set, right? Like you feel like you're never seeing, and because of the time difference, it doesn't sync up to anything, right? Like it doesn't sync up to your friends in the East Coast or the West Coast. It doesn't sync up to your friends in Europe. Like you're just in the South Pacific. You are on your own with your own thoughts. I read a book for the first time in years, like where I didn't have to like, oh, I started this book, but I'm too busy at work to finish it. Like it was absolutely game changing for me. And it was like, all right, this is.
You got to tell us the book, Carlos.
Oh, what book? It was 3 years ago. What book was that? I've read more books since, so I'm trying to figure out what book was it? It might have been. It might have been How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think that was the book I read in Fiji. I'll shoot you an email because I know I have a picture of myself reading it, so I gotta go figure out what book that was. Okay. But yeah, like it was a really like life-changing experience because I knew that, hey, like my ultimate goal is to exit my business, right? Like I want to sell it or finish it. But the first thing I'm doing after that is like I'm going to an island. I don't know that it'll be Fiji. I'm going to an island. I'm going to do nothing, right? Like I've checked my email every single morning for over 10 years, right? Like there's only a couple mornings that have been exceptions when I'm completely on vacation, but that means that there's no Wi-Fi, right? Like if I have Wi-Fi or service on my phone, I'm checking my email, and I can't wait for the day where I don't have to check my email to make sure that, hey, did we get that project out the door? Did anyone ask us for an edit? All that stuff, like just being like, all right, I'm done. Right? It's been a very long time since, so that's what I'm looking forward to the most, and so that was the lifestyle in Fiji, to be honest.
Okay. All right, and so before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to ask the next guest a question.
Okay. To the next guest, I'm going to say, what was the last thing that you did that made you truly uncomfortable, but you're glad you did it?
I like that question. Very good, man. Well, Carlos, the Prime Minister of DBC, an excellent entrepreneur. I'm glad that you spent some time with us, and I wish you nothing but the best with your business.
And all the same to you, my friend. It's been great. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Take care, my brother.